Hi, in this video we are going to learn about UiPath Forms new features that has been released as part of its August update. And to begin with, let's just understand how to get the UiPath Forms activities. To get the UiPath form activities, you have to go to Manage Packages, the official feed, and then search for Forms, and you will get the UiPath form activities. You can install it from here. For me, it is already installed, and once you install it, you will see the forms activities coming under the systems forms dropdowns, and you will get this activity called create form. As part of this example, we are going to explore a complete features set that has been released, the important ones. And for that, you will already be provided with a basic file that has certain things already coded in for you to get started. So let's see how we can start utilizing the new features that UiPath Forms has introduced. And to begin with, let's see all the things that is already pre-developed for you. So there are a couple of tabs you will see that has been developed for you. First is the image tab, then the drop-down tabs, the advanced logic tab, and then the PDF spinner tab. The first thing that we are going to do, we are going to select the default tabs from here. And let me go ahead and do that. So in UiPath Forms, the new update, you now have the capability of selecting the default tab that you want to open for the user from the point go. And for that, you have to come to the field key tab of the tabs that you have placed in the forms and add a key called default tab. And you have to provide the index of the tab that you want to pop up by default and make it available for the user. For me, right now, I want to display the advanced logic tab, which is the third tab instead of the first tab. And since it follows the index pattern, the third tab will have the index 2. Indexing starts from 0. And now if I save it, the advanced logic tab will become the default tab that opens for me. Let me go ahead and check if that happens. The form is rendering, and there you go. The advanced logic tab became the default tab that opens for the users. Let's go back and keep working on the forms to explore all the features of it. With the UiPath Forms release, we have now introduced the ability of loading the image from a local file and displaying it on the forms. And for that, the image tab has introduced a way of selecting the image path. And then we are going to load that image in this particular section. And how we are going to do that? We are basically going ahead and using a content, the image tag itself, and we are binding it to a property that is being passed to the form called img. And this img will basically be formatted in a way that the image can be loaded from the local folder. So let me go ahead and explain you how it happens. The path that is going to be loaded in this particular block will be coming from here. And for that, the field key is important, and which is image file. I'm going to link this image file uh, in a way to the img property, which is being loaded in here so that it can be displayed within this particular block. To do that, let me go ahead and show you. Once you click on the load image button, this particular case gets activated. And within this particular case, you have to design the image property in a way that the file is able to upload in that particular box. For that, I'm going to use the assign activity, and I'm going to assign image, which is the property that is binded to the placeholder where the image is going to be shown, to the image file. But this binding of the file path to the image has to be done in a way that it is prefixed with a keyword called file. And if I do this, once I do this, this particular this particular path is ready to be displayed within the image block that we saw earlier. So let's go ahead and run this and see if our image is now loading. So again, the default tab, I'll go to the tab that I wanted to execute. I'll go ahead and select an image from my local folder, and I'll select this one. Bear in mind that right now there is a limitation in terms of path. In the path of the image, there should be no space that is coming in, else the image will not load. So the path that you select has to be free of spaces. Just keep that in mind. And once I click on open, another thing that I wanted to highlight is that the file folder path, previously you were able to edit it directly from here, but now you will always have to go ahead and select the folder. It's non-editable now, and this has been done on the request of our customers. So once uploaded, if I click on load image, there you go, it gets loaded. And if you can see, the image property was containing the image file path, just with a prefix of file tag, which makes it capable, which makes it feasible for the form to load the image. All right, now that we have the image sorted, how we can load the image from a local path, let's go ahead and explore the next features. So the next feature is one of the most interesting feature that has been released as part of the August update, and that is the cascading dropdown. And to demonstrate how the cascading dropdown works, I'll probably go ahead and create another task. Let me quickly go ahead and do that. Create task. Sorry, create form, and I'll quickly go ahead and create some properties. So here I have my country list already available. I have only three countries listed: India, United States, and Germany. It is of the type list. And then I have a state that will depend on its key value, because it's of type dictionary. The key value will represent the values from the country, and then I am embedding a list of state names according to that particular country, and that I'm doing dynamically here by choosing the list of states for each of the countries. Right, this is important because now we are going to make use of this arrangement within our create form activity. And to do that, I'll quickly go ahead and create certain properties, input fields for my form. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dropdown called country dropdown, right? And this will be of type, again, this will be of type list of string, and I can bind it with country. The second parameter that I'm going to create is of state. This will be again suffixed by dropdown keyword. This is done so that the form understand that I it's the dropdown that I'm trying to create using these values. And for this, I'm going to make use of dictionary. And if I go ahead, dictionary, and my keyword will obviously be of type string, and my value parameter will be of type list. And I can bind it to my state dictionary that is already available. The other parameter that needs to be placed in is to depict the parent-child relationship between these dropdowns. And for me, the state is the child, and I'm going to depict the parent of this particular child, and that I'm going to do by linking it to country as the parent. And then we have to create variables that will basically carry out the values that has been selected from these dropdowns, which will be basically the same name without the suffix of dropdown. And I can do that like this. I can link it to a couple of variables so that the value gets caught. And I also have to change this to inout. And once that's done, I can simply go ahead and open the designer. And there you go. I did not create anything within the designer. These are automatically created. You obviously have the freedom of moving these around. And the interesting thing that you want to note is the logic that gets auto configured for the state or the child dropdown. And in this particular logic, you will find, first of all, result equals to true, right? Which means whenever the component is there, right? And secondly, the action. And in action, you will see that there is a merge component schema that is getting deployed for this particular component, wherein certain code snippet has already been pre-configured, and this is all auto-generated, and this is the exactly same thing that I'm going to use in my example form that has been provided to you. So in this schema, if we can understand the data that is going to be used for this particular element is going to have the value wherein the data is corresponding to the state parent, and in bracket the index is going to be the data that is coming from the country. So it basically means that the data is dynamically loaded based on the country parameter that is being chosen. And with that, since I have the same state and country configuration within my form that is created, I'll just copy the code snippet from here, and I can go ahead and paste it at the right place, which will be in the states part of it, the child drop down. And in the logic, I have the result equals to true. In the action section, I will simply go ahead and paste this, and this should be enough to make the relation establish the relation between the country and the state dropdown. So if I save it, let me just delete the one that I created on the fly. And if I run this, if I go to the dropdown part of it and select any of the country dropdowns, the state gets dynamically loaded. If I change the dropdown, the state dropdown reflects to the change that I selected. So that's how you create the dynamic cascading dropdowns. Moving on, the next dropdown that I see is the capability of selecting multiple values from the dropdown. It's a pretty simple update, and might I say an important one. So I will go to the dropdown. I'll go ahead and uh, go to the data part of this particular dropdown where I need multiple values to be selectable, and I can simply go ahead and click on the multiple select values. If I do that, this particular field will start supporting the multiple values. Let me save this. Let me then, okay, the form was running, so let me do that again. I'll go ahead, open the form. I'll go to the drop down. In the multiple drop down list in the data part, I'll select the multiple values. I'll save it. And once I do that, this particular form and that particular element should start supporting multiple values. Quickly going to the drop down, the multiple values, there are drop downs, and I can simply go ahead and select all of them. So that was about multiple values being selected from the drop down. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was having the ability of triggering the do block based on selecting the drop down, right? And for that, there's a code snippet that is available that you want to put it to the element from where you want to emit this particular event. And in this case, I'm going to use the current country for emitting that particular event. And using that, I'm going to show the exact country that has been selected in the correct current country in the selected country box. And for that, I'll have to come to the data, to the custom default value. And in here, you will see a JavaScript that is embedded by me. So in this, you just have to make sure the name that you provide here is the name that will go out as the value that is being emitted out, and this value can be used in the switch block to actually catch this particular event and perform whatever action you want to perform within the form. And that's pretty much it. Once you configure this one, let me go back. Uh, Once you configure this one, if you remember, that was country changed. I have created this particular block called country changed, and within this, I already have this selected country, which is the text box value, set to the current country. So if I run this, coming to the dropdown, if I go to the current country, if I select this, because the do block gets executed, it changes to the value that I selected from the dropdown. Similarly, for any other value that I select, it will execute the dropdown, execute that particular block of code, and whatever action I'm suggesting that I need to take will be taken based on the dropdown change. So that's how you can emit the events on dropdown changes. Next, we are going to talk about advanced logics and validation that has been introduced. And for that, I have this particular example wherein I have a couple of fields. And what I want to do here is, first of all, in the allocated budgets, let's take it one by one. One by one. First, in the allocated budget, I want to have this particular field uh, to be shown only when the role is either admin or manager. The developer and business analyst role should not be able to play around with this particular field, which is allocated budget. For this, I can use advanced validation. Let's go ahead and see that how we can do that. So I'll open the form designer. I'll go to the advanced logic tab here, and I have to configure the allocated budget so that it is only visible when only two of the roles has been selected. So in the simple configuration, simple conditional configuration, I could have make this particular condition as well. So I could have probably select that this component should not be displayed. When the component value, I could have selected the role value from here. Um, this one, sorry. And I could have given the value as manager or admin directly here. So this would have made this component to be not shown when the value was either manager uh, or admin, either of that, not both. So in order to support both the roles, we now have to go ahead and use the advanced conditions. We can do that by using advanced condition. And in the advanced condition, I can probably go ahead and add that particular condition directly in the JavaScript. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the yeah. I'm going to use some of the parameters that is already stated in this one. So whatever is available for you to use within this particular block has already been stated here. So right now I'm going to use something called show, and if show is false, the element will be not displayed, and if the show is true, the element will be shown. And to make sure that happens, I'll do show is equals to, and I'm going to put both the conditions within this one. Data dot role equals to the value was admin, the first one, and data dot role equals to the value will be the second value that we wanted to validate against was manager, right? So if I have these two conditions, it is going to see either of these condition is true or not. So either of these condition is true, the box will be shown. And if neither of the condition is true, then the show property will become false and the element will become hidden. With that configuration, I can simply go ahead and save this again. And let me save this. And let's try to run and see if this works. So we are on this particular tab. As you can see that the allocated budget is already gone because the validation was not successful. If I select admin, the allocated budget becomes available for me. If I select developer, it's gone. If I select manager again, the element becomes available again. So now for both these roles, the element will be available. But apart from that, if any other role is selected, the element will not be available. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create a certain condition wherein if the allocated budget crosses more than 10,000, I want to make the comment mandatory, wherein you have to provide the reason why the budget is high, and to basically make the user aware that this is what the comment is going to require. So for that, I'm going to add a tooltip to this particular comment and make it mandatory both. And for that, let me go back to my form designer again. I'll go to the advanced logic, and in the advanced logic, I am going to play around with the comment field. So I'll go here, and there is a new section that has been added called logic, wherein I can create these kind of rules. So you can create a new rule called check budget limit. And for checking this particular limit, checking this particular condition, what basically triggers these actions, I can put on the condition as when result equals to, so basically result is what guides whether the actions will be executed or not. So the result has to be true for the actions to be taken, and and here I'll make it conditional. That is, whenever the allocated budget allocated budget the data object contains all the values that is being passed within the form, and that's how I'm able to grab hold of allocated budget value here. And for that, I am using data.allocated budget. And I have to say that whenever the allocated data budget is greater than 10,000, I want to trigger these actions. And what are those actions? I have created two actions. You can create it using this button. So I have created these two actions. First of all, I want to add a tooltip, the help info. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and add a property. I'm going to make change in property, not the value. So, and that property will be tooltip. And in the tooltip, I want the text that needs to be displayed as mention reason for high budget value. I can save this action. Next, I want to make this comment mandatory. Again, I can go ahead and make change in the property of this particular element, and I'll make this field as required. And this property, I need to set it as true. So this will become a required property. Once I save this, I can save the logic, I can save the element, I can save the form. Let's see if second time is the charm. Got it. So let's open this particular slot. Let's change the value, and you can see I have got the tooltip right here. And talking about why it did not become mandatory, it's probably because I did not set the value to be true. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll again go to the logic. I'll edit this one. First one is right. Tooltip was added. Mandatory was not because I forgot to set it to true. Save action, save logic, save the element. Now, I'll go to this one once I also make certain other changes because now it should be correct. I'll show you the result together. And in the PDF section, we are what the form team has done is the capability for you to show the PDF file uh, within the form itself. And for that, you have to use the iframe tag here, and then you have to you can provide the width and height if you want. Those are optional, but you can use basically the iframe tag to display the PDFs from your local file. Again, it is going to be the same logic. You have to prefix the value with the file tag, same as we saw in the image one. And if you do that, the local file will be displayed on your form. That's the only thing that you need to do. Uh, I'll I'll quickly show you on the logic level as well. Let me see if the file is already placed. So in the load PDF, we can quickly go ahead and add that particular file as well. And here, what we can do is PDF was the property that was being loaded in that particular box where the PDF file will be shown. And for that, again, I'm going to prefix the file path that is being selected on the runtime with the file tag the way it is shown here. And then I can put the PDF file that has been selected on the runtime. So once I do this, that PDF file will be visible. So let me go ahead and run this and see if it worked. So first thing first, let's confirm if this is working completely now. If I change this, yeah, so it works. The tooltip was already there. Now the required field has already also popped up. So the comment became mandatory and you have to provide the value which is being provided. The hint is being provided here, what exactly value the comment box requires. And if I go to the PDF side, I just have to select the file here. Again, the path here also should not contain any spaces. This is one of the known limitations. So as long as the path does not have any kind of space, you will be able to load that. Sorry, because this particular field was mandatory, let me make it not mandatory. Probably if I load it again, yeah. So the PDF is now loaded. So I selected the height and width, and that's why it's showing it like this. You can make it as feasible for you as possible. So these are the new changes that was available. Another thing that I wanted to show you or discuss with you uh, in terms of the changes that was there. Now, if let me just restart this particular form. So, what I wanted to discuss with you was the kind of indicator that the form is working right now. This was previously linked to the element that was taking action. For example, if I was doing a load PDF, it was probably only here, but now you saw that particular red indicator that comes on the form level, suggesting that the do block is executing and the form is busy doing certain action that you have asked it to do. So the indicator has been moved to the top as well. So those are the updates that has been brought in the forms update with the August release, and the release version is 1.1.6 and above. You can start utilizing these features in your projects, and that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.